A random camera angle. Oh, I'm gonna be watching scary videos while I do random shit. And yeah, I would just, have no camera or just have the camera at my hands. Don't feel like it. I feel like you guys should watch. Right now I'm just uploading something on my other YouTube channel, YouTube's Weekly News. Don't worry about it. It's not important. What? Where the hell am I? I have full netherite. Why the hell am I here? Can I leave, please? Oh, yeah, I can. Bop, bop, bippity, bop, bop, bop. Feels good. We're beating the game. Oh, fuck. Where the fuck did that come from? Into the unknown. Who wants to fight? Oh, yeah, I need to search for creepers, so this is actually perfect. Now the other side is paved with memories. I hope not. Bitch! I'm gonna kill you with my hand. You are lucky that I was willing to kill you with my axe. Is it really worth the name? I was going to name this demon, Dragon Slayer. I don't even think it's worth it anymore. Maybe I can combine it? I don't know. How would you name your axe for cheap? I don't want to name my axe if it's going to cost me trillions and trillions of dollars. Ooh, actually, good idea. What if we go back to the Nether, get a bunch of the guys who sell potions, and then just mine like 1,000 trees, get a bunch of emeralds, and then bingo bongo jingle bingo, we finally have Mongo. Oh, I'm not sure what I want to upload. I'm getting bored of this game, but my only other game is Fortnite. Yeah, no. I've been considering making a whole nother fucking series, but I feel like I'm in that stage where Minecraft and restarting doesn't sound compatible anymore. But at the same time, I don't wanna just sit around making 1 or 2 houses a year on this server and never ever do anything else and make like 5-minute tutorial videos. Come on, upload. 95% processed? Might as well just, I want to watch something, but at the same time, I want this to be processed so I don't have to worry about it. It's at 95%. I'll just let it load in library. Just waiting, where the hell are the creepers? It would fly, but I don't have any gunpowder to make fireworks. Whoa, mama jama. Kitty shack. Ooh. Can you leave me the fuck alone? It's impossible.
It seems like lately we're on a big winning streak with these internet mysteries here. Mysterious song still ongoing. Saki Sanabashi, the evil farm game. But these new mysteries are just getting knocked down one by one. One such case being Kitty Shack, the mysterious Simlish singer from Sims 2. A poster on my subreddit, Homework Busy, homed in on a lead that I missed when I first made my video, and followed it all the way to solving a mystery that's been discussed for well over a decade. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, check out my first video on Kitty Shack. But if you missed it, here's a summary. In The Sims 2, there's a number of songs that can be heard using Simlish lyrics, Simlish being the fake language in The Sims universe. In particular, people have been interested in the singer of a song called Another World. It was credited as being by a singer named Kitty Shack, but any search for Kitty Shack just turns up this weird blog that's clearly owned by some sort of role player and has nothing to do with the actual game, and is just full of statements that are very easily debunked. Although I found some potential candidates candidates to be Kitty Shack, none of them really fit the bill. And that pretty much gets us up to speed. Talking so much about The Sims now, I'm suddenly filled with an urge to buy some sort of Sims merchandise. I don't want to go crazy though, so today's sponsor, Privacy.com,
let's check
behind
this
Kitty
upload
Shack. I was basing most of my search on the credits that were listed on Moby Games. This caused me to home in on Devo's Mark
95%.
Mothersbaugh, as well as the list of session musicians who were credited for the game. However, as it turns out, the Sims Wiki would have a different piece of information. A piece of information that would eventually lead to Kitty Shack being found. See, on their list of credits, each song had individual writers with another world credited to Eric Presley. But you hear the vocals in that song. That don't sound like no Eric I ever heard. A Redditor named Homework Busy goes on the Sims Wiki and notices the Eric Presley listing. So he posts on my subreddit that there's a new lead. And he finds that if you search The Sims Eric Presley, you get a bunch of other songs. Like this one from Sims 3 called Da Linnup with a vocalist that sounds like Kitty Shack. To the conclusion that Eric Presley was probably using the same vocalist for all of these songs. So he starts searching for Eric Presley, and eventually he comes across a Facebook page with a profile picture that shows him with a blonde woman who, as Homework Busy points out, looks like the woman that was used to represent Kitty Shack. Although, once again, note that the image of Kitty Shack that we have was just from the Role Players blog and not from the actual Sims content. In any case, she did seem to fit the bill, and it turned out that she was a singer. Her name is Natalie Noon, and she does sound kind of like Kitty Shack. So Homework Busy sends Natalie Noon a message. But while everyone's waiting for her response, a user named Tricepta has a different theory. I think you were on the right path, but took a wrong turn. I'm pretty sure I know who it is. I'm still looking for confirmation. Homework Busy thinks he's going to say April Start, which we ruled out in the first video. But Tricepta's thinking of someone else. Nope, it's someone with a connection to Eric Presley, and someone that listed that she did work for The Sims 3. Also, I'm certain that's a different Eric Presley that you have linked. Okay, it almost seems like he's speaking in riddles at this point, but after taking a closer look, Homework Busy does think he might actually have the wrong guy. Because the Eric Presley from The Sims turned out to be a bass player for Belinda Carlisle, and he had a MySpace for his music that was a different guy from this guy. And also, as it turned out, that Eric Presley passed away in 2011. So Natalie Noon's resemblance to Kitty Shack was most likely just an odd coincidence. So what was the other theory that Tricepta had? At this point, Homework Busy suggests that Tricepta is thinking of another singer called Carrie Jo Crosby, and that was in fact who he was thinking of. Homework finds Carrie on Facebook and shoots her a message.
We need to talk about your balls. Are they smooth or covered in bits of annoying fluff?
Pardon me, but are you by any chance the singer for Sims 3 Da Linnup? And if so, were you the singer for The Sims 2 Kitty Shack Another World? I don't mean to bother you. I'm just trying to find the singer for these video games. And if by chance, did you do any other songs for EA/The Sims? Thank you for your time. And she responds, yes, I sang a couple songs on Sims 3, but not Sims 2. Did you also message me on Insta by chance? It turns out that at this point, Tricepta had already contacted her on Instagram, commenting on a video of The Sims she posted, which, interesting side note, in the caption of one of these Sims videos, she noted that it was the strangest gig she had ever done, and received lyric sheets in both Simlish and English for the same song. So it's quite possible that every Simlish song was written with an English version. So Homework Busy brings Carrie up to date on the mystery and asks if there's someone she can reach out to who might know who sang the song. She says she can message a producer friend of hers who might know, and she comes back with an answer pretty quickly. Keely Hawks. She was the singer. And another poster, Chris Klein Fangirl, noted that this wasn't the only time that Keely Hawks and Eric Presley would have collaborated. I've been investigating this too after watching Wang's video. Keely Hawks was in a band called Transistor, which, according to Wikipedia, also had a member called Eric Presley, who is credited to doing other Sims songs. Here is a clip of one of their songs. The voice has to be Kitty Shack. So weird hearing her voice in English. Tricepta managed to get a hold of Keely Hawks through email, and she confirmed that this is her. And in a comment on her YouTube channel, she verifies it again. Are you the girl from Sims 2 song Another World? Yep, that was my vocal. The song was produced and written by Charlton Pettis. And you can listen to the songs on her channel and hear, yeah, this is definitely Kitty Shack. Although I have to say it is a bit odd to hear her singing in actual English. Thus concludes the Kitty Shack mystery. Thanks to everyone involved in the search. But anyway, that's all for now. If you like this video, check out my video about the lost 3D version of Chrono Trigger. I'm out.
Setting up Simply Safe Home Security was a piece of cake. No tools or wiring needed. So easy, I realized I could tackle any project.
Super NES RPGs were the best. Final Fantasy VI, Earthbound, Chrono Trigger. To me, this was the absolute greatest time in gaming. But good things don't last forever. As Nintendo started to talk about their new Ultra 64 console, it was clear that the Super Nintendo days were coming to an end. But screenshots of new 64-bit RPGs and game magazines gave me hope for what would come next. One by one, all of those games got canceled, but hey, at least we got Quest 64. But a few years later, after some of that bitterness washed away, I came across a bunch of screenshots that kind of brought these hopes back. This is the story of Chrono Resurrection. If you've been watching my channel for any amount of time, you can probably tell based on...
Sorry you think that, comma. I just asked for a replacement one or twice because my figure got damaged in the mail. Sorry, sad face.
My song choices, that Super NES RPGs were a big deal to me. And although there are a lot of classic JRPGs that came out after the Super NES, to me there was never really anything that captured that same magic again. But maybe part of that feeling is just because of all the time screenshots and Nintendo Power got my hopes up, only to leave me waiting around like Fry's dog. Final Fantasy 64. You could probably hear the saltiness in my voice because doing the research for this video got me all agitated about this game again. So it starts in 1995 as game magazines start to publish pictures of what appears to be Locke, Terra, and Shadow from Final Fantasy VI in full 3D. Some of these magazines call it Final Fantasy 64, some of them call it Final Fantasy VII, and then the one that really took the ball and ran with it was Game Players. They published a whole article about how this was definitely Final Fantasy VII, and it's coming out in December of 1996. But Game Players was full of shit, because this was definitely not Final Fantasy VII, and it was definitely not coming out ever. What this actually was a tech demo where Squaresoft was simply experimenting with ideas for the next Final Fantasy game. They were trying to see what they could do with the upcoming Nintendo 64 DD, and considering that what they wanted to do with Final Fantasy VII would have taken 30 DD discs as opposed to 3 PlayStation discs, that was the end of that. But Squaresoft wasn't the only game in town. It was HAL Laboratories that developed what was one of the last great RPGs of the 16-bit era. Of course, I'm talking about Earthbound. And where Final Fantasy 64 failed, Earthbound 64 would surely succeed, right? And unlike Final Fantasy 64, there were a lot of different pictures, a lot of different scenes we would see in magazines from this game.
Have you ever seen me sell one of those Austins? No, question mark. Question mark. I messaged them on the off chance that this was enough for a refund, and they said sure, comma, they could have said no. So is it really my fault because I asked in the first place, question mark? Like, let's say you got a dream and there was a tiny dot on the mask and they offered a replacement, would you really say no, question mark?
In particular, there's a picture of a 3D nest that really made my imagination go wild. And even better, this was actually supposed to be a release title for the 64 DD. But then you could look at the pack watch in the back of Nintendo Power and see that release date getting pushed back further and further.
Here, I'm gonna try
And
my
then they
camera,
changed
sorry
from a
guys.
TV game to a regular Nintendo 64 cartridge.
I know I said
And
earlier
as
I
people
won't,
seem
but
to be giving up on the game, there's a tiny glimmer of hope at Nintendo Space World 1999. It was at this show that there was a playable demo of Earthbound 64 and an announced release date of March of 2000. But March of 2000 comes along, there's no Earthbound 64, and then finally, in August, they unceremoniously announced that, yeah, Earthbound ain't coming. And as for that playable demo, who knows where that thing is? It might be rotting away in somebody's basement. Maybe they threw it in the garbage. Can you imagine if somebody threw Earthbound 64 in the garbage and that's just it, it's just gone now? But in retrospect, thinking about these two games, I realized that I was hoping for something that was never planned to ever actually come out. Final Fantasy 64 would become Final Fantasy 7, and it was a classic. Not as good as Final Fantasy 6, but you know, a classic nonetheless. The story that was meant to be told in Earthbound 64 was eventually told in Mother 3, and yeah, that game never received an official English version, but we all played the patch. What was really building up in my mind was this idea of playing as these characters from my favorite 2D RPGs, Locke, Terra, Shadow, Ness, in 3D. And even though that specifically was never really on the menu, it's clear that I wasn't the only one who was thinking that way. At the same time that I was growing increasingly frustrated with all these cancellations, a young developer named Nathan Lazar was thinking about how he could make his own. Well, I remember wondering back in 1999 what a 3D Chrono Trigger would look like. I realized at the time that I had to learn programming to accomplish my dream. So I started researching programming, which I had no previous experience with. In the process of learning how to program, I also learned a lot about console programming thanks to extensive research and development on Nintendo 64 and PS1. And so it began. I started to create a demo of Chrono Trigger on the Nintendo 64 as an application of what I learned. After beginning to develop his programming skills and making some small homebrew projects, Nathan started to work on his own Chrono Trigger remake that he entitled CT64. The plan for CT64 was to have two separate modes. The first mode would be a 2D mode with enhanced graphics and 3D spell effects. The second mode would be fully 3D with some cinematic camera angles based on the Ocarina of Time. Does a project like this sound a bit too ambitious for a fledgling programmer? Well, as it turns out, it was. In 2000, a year after work on CT64 began, Nathan brought the project to a halt. Nathan felt that his programming skills just weren't what they needed to be to accomplish what he wanted, and he wanted to take some time off to improve them. And it was during this time off that he received a job offer that would take him to Montreal to work for DC Studios. No relation to DC Comics, I'm talking about the company that made the Bratz game.
Break it down. Perfect.
Nathan worked for DC Studios for 3 years until he needed to take a significant amount of time off due to health issues. And it was during this downtime that his mind went back to CT64. Although he was undoubtedly happy to be working in his dream industry, perhaps working for the company that made Mia Hamm's Soccer 64
Great touch on the ball.
wasn't quite what he had envisioned when he was trying to make Chrono Trigger 3D. So Nathan went and updated the personal projects section of his blog. Chrono Trigger Brink of Time. This was a personal project of mine a few years back. I decided to reopen my interest in this because it dawned on me that I never finished the project. I don't like not finishing things. The Chrono Trigger remake project was alive once again, this time known as Chrono Trigger Break of Time. Nathan quickly began assembling a team of hardcore Chrono Trigger fans, including Matthew Valente, who was his original musician from CT64. Having more experience now, Nathan also had a better idea of the kinds of resources it would take to bring a project of that scale to fruition. So he narrowed down his goals a little bit, and rather than remake the entire game in 3D, he decided to stick to 10 scenes that would link together major set pieces. A lot of people did ask him about the full remake, but he said that the only way that would be possible is if Square Enix themselves said, yeah, let's fund this project. Work on Chrono Trigger Break of Time began in April of 2003. Throughout the following year, he would provide sporadic updates, but it was still a very low-key project. At some point, he released a teaser image of the project, which was now renamed to Chrono Trigger Resurrection. This image got some people interested, but it was nothing compared to what would happen in May of 2004. It was in May of 2004 that, planned to coincide with E3, they released the official website for Chrono Resurrection. Welcome to the home of the Chrono Trigger Resurrection project. We have been vigorously working for the past year on this project, and we're excited to bring it to the public eye in full for the first time. Chrono Trigger Resurrection is a 3D remake of Square's SNES classic Chrono Trigger. The demo, which will be released on Christmas 2004, recreates 10 of the best scenes from the original game. Currently, the demo is 25% complete. We expect to release a trailer when the demo is over 50% completed, which should be around the end of August. When the project is completed, only the PC version will be released to the public for free. The GameCube and Xbox ports are internal and only official developers for those respective platforms will be able to play them. There are various screenshots of the scenes, characters, stock art, concept art, and even some sample music located in the media section. We invite you to navigate around the rest of the website to find out any information about the project and post your thoughts on the forums. We hope you look forward to our next news update. Chrono Trigger Resurrection Team. And those screenshots in the media section were a game changer. The quality of those images far exceeded what anybody would ever have expected, especially at that point in time, what a fan game might look like. These images perfectly captured the vision of a 3D Chrono Trigger, and with Final Fantasy 64 and Earthbound 64 distant memories, it was bringing some of that same hope back to life. As a result of this, Chrono Trigger Resurrection started to receive a ton of coverage on different game websites. Basically, any gaming forum you could go to, it became the talk of the town. The official website was getting slammed with traffic to the point where they had to upgrade their hosting service. But it wasn't just the fans who were noticing this. As the game started to receive more and more attention, Nathan started to notice that the website was receiving traffic from IP addresses that were connected to Square Enix. At first he was alarmed, but then this traffic persisted for 3 months. Because so much time had passed without them ever hearing from Square, they assumed the traffic was coming from employees who were just curious. Or maybe the unlikely scenario that people had been asking for was coming true, and Square was ready to fund a 3D Chrono Trigger. But then on August 24th of 2004, Nathan received a correspondence from the law offices of...
You know what? I'm sorry, I did do some bad things in the past, but I never exploited them, I asked for a replacement once or twice, but I want to be part of the community again, so I am sorry.
Kirkpatrick and Flockhart on behalf of Square Enix. We understand that you are developing Chrono Trigger Resurrection, a 3D remake of our client's Chrono Trigger game, which will recreate scenes from the original.
So, sorry, period.
Game. Your conduct in this regard constitutes copyright infringement and, inter alia, violates our client's exclusive rights to prepare derivative works based on its copyrighted work. Your use of the words Chrono Trigger in connection with your remake and on your website opcoder.com, and your use of logos, scenes, characters, and other images associated with our client's games constitutes trademark and copyright infringement and false designation of origin. Accordingly, demand is hereby made that you immediately cease and desist from further development, promotion, sale, or distribution of any project which is based on or derived from our client's Chrono Trigger games, and that you cease and desist from all use of the Chrono Trigger trademark and logo, and all use of images or artwork from Chrono Trigger games. And this was kept quiet until September 18th when Nathan made this blog post. It's been a while since I have updated my website. As most of you know, I have been working on Chrono Resurrection since May like a mad dog. The project has since been canceled at the request of the original IP owner, Square Enix Co. Ltd. While I am disappointed, I understand their legal obligation to protect their copyright. Here are some interesting notes about the production of Chrono Resurrection. Only 3,000 man-hours were consumed creating content for the 6-scene trailer between roughly 5 people. We plan to have 10 scenes in the demo. As good as the graphics looked, if we had spent a full day instead of a few hours each day working on it, it would have looked much, much better. Those 10 scenes were Chrono's house upstairs, Chrono's house downstairs, End of Time, Guardia Forest, Battle of Xenon Bridge, Frog cutting the cliff with the Masamune, Battle with Magus, Black Tyranno with Azala boss battle, Dalton battle on Blackbird flying over Kingdom of Zeal, Lavos battle 3
Just
stages.
fly.
Chrono, Frog, Mara, Luca, Magus, Robo would have been playable characters. Over 800,000 downloads of normal quality trailer have been tracked so far. 500,000 of those were in the week of the announcement of the cease and desist. Over 300 employees from Square Enix downloaded the trailer within that time as well. Contrary to what some folks have said on the internet, everything we have shown is rendered in-game. This is not CG. That includes the trailer, smiley face. I have received too many emails with condolences and offers, and I am very happy people have been showing their interest. The team and I will be moving on to an original project which will start pre-production very soon. If things go as planned, we'll have a website up with some preliminary art or information. Now, I have to update the rest of the site and start coding again. Smiley face. Until next time. So once again, the hopes of RPG fans hoping to see their 2D favorites in glorious 3D were crushed. But that's not exactly where the story ends. After all, on that project page, Nathan did say that he doesn't like not finishing things. And 4 years later, on February 20th of 2006, a video appeared on a YouTube account belonging to Nathan.
I hate wasting my freaking
Although they never publicly released it, obviously for legal reasons, they did go ahead and finish the Xenon Bridge section from the trailer. And 4 years after that, Nathan went and uploaded another video showing us one of the unfinished sections.
Don't have any paper, gotta go back all the way
Alright, that
home.
looked cool as shit, and it's making me annoyed that this got canceled again. But this is a story that's going to be told over and over again because despite the fact that companies keep taking down these kinds of projects, fans keep trying to make them. And as for what happened to Nathan Lazar, in 2012 he successfully crowdfunded a game called Football Heroes. Football Heroes has grown into what appears to be a very successful series. So even though his dream project, that 3D Chrono Trigger remake, was snuffed out by Square Enix, it appears that inspiration still led him down the right path. Anyway, if you like this video, you'll probably also like this really old one on my channel, asking the question of what the deal is with Siegfried from Final Fantasy VI. Donkey Kong is one of Shigeru Miyamoto's most important creations. Without Donkey Kong, there might not be a Nintendo. Having saved them after their previous arcade game, Radar Scope, was a commercial failure, it was the massive success of Donkey Kong that allowed them to fund the NES. But after building an empire off of his back, Nintendo strangely left their old pal DK to collect dust. While his rival Mario became the face of the company, and new faces like Link and Samus joined the fold, Donkey Kong was barely seen outside of the odd cameo for over 10 years, until he was reborn in Donkey Kong Country. It seems odd to me that Nintendo would let such an important character disappear for so long. What if they'd actually been planning to bring him back sooner? Well, the recent Nintendo Giga-Leaks, which revealed tons of unknown Nintendo prototypes, might have revealed some evidence that Donkey Kong's comeback had been in the works longer than we realized. What does this have to do with Yoshi's Island? And for that matter, what does this have to do with Clock? For today's video, let's take a look at the strange Nintendo prototypes labeled Super Donkey. This video is sponsored by Ridge Wallet. I know some of you probably have big lumpy trifold wallet, and they also have a lifetime warranty, as well as free worldwide shipping and links. Go watch it on my story fire. I'll put a link in the pinned comment. As someone who's always been fascinated by lost media and weird video game stuff, these Nintendo Giga Leaks are filling me with the same sense of wonderment and magic that I used to have just sitting down with my Game Genie trying to find weird levels in the original Super Mario Brothers. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, basically 2 massive sets of old Nintendo data were leaked recently. In this data exist several prototypes of old Super NES and Nintendo 64 games. You can see things like early designs for Yoshi where he has these weird skinny chicken legs and a beak and those shoes. This version actually, to me, kind of looks like Shigeru Miyamoto's original idea to have Yoshi in the original NES Mario Brothers. In fact, this version of Super Mario World has everything for the reptile foot enthusiast, because we also got Bowser showing off the toes in this design that looks a lot like his Super Mario 3 version. And we've also got rooms from the original Zelda 64, and a human woman in Star Fox 2. Uncompressed versions of audio. Do a barrel roll! Oh yeah, and Luigi in Mario 64. And it seems like Luigi is everyone's favorite revelation so far, and it's totally understandable. It's probably been one of the most searched for things in all of gaming history. And while that's really cool, to me there's something even more interesting in here. To me, the most important thing to come out of this leak so far is a file included in the Yoshi's Island directory. A game labeled Super Donkey. Super Donkey features this pilot-looking dude in a jungle world filled with creatures that are both friendly and unfriendly. He's very round with limbs that are disconnected from a body in a way that's reminiscent of Rayman, Flock. But this appears to be mostly a stylistic choice, as he doesn't attack by launching his limbs. Rather, he can stomp enemies, charge up to fly, and he can use certain objects as weapons. The stages themselves appear to be very open and non-linear, with a map to tell you where on the screen you actually are. I imagine that if this concept was more fleshed out, it would be kind of an objective-based game. I think there probably would have been some kind of goal you had to reach before you were allowed to go through the exit doors that are on every stage. Like you have this stage with monkeys that you can pick up, and maybe you had to put the monkeys somewhere to pass to the next area. So why is this thing sitting in the Yoshi's Island folder called Super Donkey? Well, the obvious place your mind would go with this being a Nintendo game is that maybe this was supposed to be a Donkey Kong game. And in fact, in Japan, they referred to Donkey Kong Country as Super Donkey Kong! So it would make sense that this was planned to be Donkey Kong's comeback game, and there is some evidence for that. Obviously, this little pilot guy isn't Donkey Kong. But historically, up to that point, Donkey Kong had been an antagonist. It makes sense that this might be a continuation of that, and some people have pointed out that this character resembles Stanley the Bugman from Donkey Kong 3. And that's honestly where my mind first went when I saw all this. I mean, I could just picture him pumping his little bug gas. But then I took another look at how Stanley actually looked, and he is a very different character. Honestly, the Stanley connection is probably just a case of fuzzy memories filling in the blanks. But that being said, Nintendo does have a long-abandoned character that looks like this. Sky Skipper, which was released shortly after the original Donkey Kong and featured a guy in a little airplane blowing up gorillas. But if you take a look at this character's sprite sheets, they reveal something else. Who is that? Mario? It definitely looks like he's either transforming or taking off.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for a
But if you take
while.
a look at this character's sprite sheets, they reveal something else. Who is that? Mario? It definitely looks like he's either transforming or taking off his helmet to reveal Mario. I doubt it was intended for him to be this character, especially considering you don't normally see the mustache. If I had to guess, maybe this was supposed to be some kind of sight gag, or
Actually,
maybe the item
don't expect me for a while.
I mean, it is Donkey Kong